everyone, and welcome to Rules as Written. My name is Zach, and on this channel I like to discuss Dungeons and Dragons. Usually that's character builds, but every once in a while I like to dive into a topic and share my thoughts on that, and today's one of those days. As every TTRPG player knows, there are two sides to the player base of this hobby. The role players and the min-maxers. And I'm sure we've all felt the pain or awkwardness of colliding with another party member who doesn't want the same things out of the game that we do. For instance, maybe you're having a really great roleplay moment and you try to throw to another player, only to find that they're stacking dice and waiting for the next initiative roll. Or let's say you're in a tough combat encounter, you are fully utilizing your action economy, using all of your limited use features, prioritizing key targets, being as effective as you can, only for that 11 strength bard with the 27-page backstory to declare that they are going to swing their longsword on the boss monster and then ask what dice they should use to determine their hit roll. These may sound like extreme examples, but I'm sure anybody who's played this game long enough has seen both of those instances in play at least one time or another. Of the two, however, I think the min-maxers get the worst rap in the community. Just check out D&D Reddit and you're going to see dozens of headlines. My party is a bunch of murder hobos that don't want to roleplay. This player's min-maxed build is too strong and it's ruining combat for the rest of the party. The community can sometimes make it seem like min-maxers are diametrically opposed to good storytelling. As an avid character builder myself, I know that can be a hard bias to overcome. When I sit down at a new table and the other players inevitably ask me what I'm playing, I can feel the shift in dynamic when I describe my multi-classed build that has action surge, spellcasting, extra attack, and a super high armor class. But I'm here to tell you that we don't have to be the monsters that they see us as. And the process of building our characters' combat abilities can actually set us up for some great roleplay opportunities. Because here's the thing. When you're building a Dungeons & Dragons character, you aren't just building a blank slate full of stats. You are building a real, breathing character who will be consistently interacting with not just the world around you, but the players at the table as well. After all, there are three pillars that make up Dungeons & Dragons: social interaction, combat, and exploration. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying one or two of those pillars more than the others. But I think we can all agree that the number one contributor to our own fun in Dungeons & Dragons, or any game for that matter, is immersion. That feeling that occurs when your head is completely in the game. You are your character, you are in that world, and the real world does not exist. Whether that occurs for you when you are exchanging words with an NPC, or when your combat build is pulling out all the stops and cutting through a horde of monsters. And the more time that we spend immersed, the better. So, while combat may be all that you look forward to, if you can find a way to embrace the role-playing and the exploration, you'll find enjoyment in those times between your favorite bits, and it's going to improve your overall play experience. Today, I want to look at 3 character builds that have all made their choices with combat or gameplay efficiency in mind, and how we can leverage those choices to also improve our role-playing. We're going to be taking a look at an Elven Rogue with a focus on ranged damage, a Goliath fighter with a focus on durability, and a human sorcerer with a little bit of a support twist. So let's take a look at our Elven Rogue first. Our goal here is to maximize our ranged damage. As a rogue, we'll be looking to land our sneak attack at ranged, but what ways can we improve that damage? Well, High Elves can take a wizard cantrip, and the True Strike cantrip lets us add extra damage dice to any attack at levels 5, 11, and 17. So for our species, we're going to go High Elf, and we're going to pick up True Strike. Now, uniquely, the weapon attack from True Strike uses a spellcasting modifier instead of dexterity or strength. So we can therefore choose to put our points into any mental stat. Let's say, for us, we're going to go with Charisma for this build. If you plan to become an Arcane Trickster down the road, you could also go for Intelligence, but I'm seeing this character as more of a thief. So we can make Charisma our highest score and not suffer in the attack and damage categories, and we can choose to make that attack deal radiant damage, so we can bypass resistance to piercing damage. Then we get to pick up an Origin feat, and let's say we want to go with Lucky to give ourselves some modicum of control over dice rolls at the table that affect us. Then, with our high Charisma, we can put our expertise into Charisma-based skills and become an absolute master of them. I'm talking Deception, Persuasion, maybe even Performance and Intimidation down the line. So, what do our choices lean towards here? We're quick-witted and likable with that high charisma, and we're also pretty lucky, thanks to that origin feat. So it's fair to say that we have a strong influence over the people around us, and we're usually pretty used to things going our own way, whether through luck, skill, or influence. So that would probably lead towards this character being pretty confident. Add into the mix that we are from a species with an extremely long lifespan, and this character appears to be more quick-witted, more skilled, and longer lived than most people that they encounter. That could push our confidence levels into near arrogance. So that's personality that we're getting just from mechanical choices. But personality is only half of roleplay. Motivation is the other important factor. Why would a character like this be interested in a life of adventure? Well, we know that this character has some interest in spellcasting, thanks to constantly using that True Strike cantrip, and with the long lifespan, there might also be an interest in ancient things. So I could see this character setting out on adventure to uncover lost magic items, or obscure and forgotten magical lore and teachings, maybe even explore some ancient ruins of lost civilizations. So just like that, all of our decisions were mechanic-based first, and yet utilizing those features, we were able to craft ourselves a personality to match and a motivation for adventure. This seems like a pretty compelling character. This is almost like an elven Indiana Jones with a little bit of cockiness mixed in there, a little bit of Nathan Drake, and then also an expertise in influencing other people. So you can leverage this personality in minor social situations, and you can make decisions for your character based on this motivation that we've come up with whenever the party's deciding what course of adventure to pursue. Let's take a look at another character build and do this exercise again. This time we're making a Goliath fighter, and we want to focus on durability. High strength, high constitution. We're going to go with Stone Goliath to pick up the Stone's Endurance feature, which is a reaction damage reduction ability. And then we're also going to pick up the Tough origin feat for an extra 2 hit points per level. Fighter level 1 is also going to get a second wind for some bonus action self-healing, as well as weapon masteries and a fighting style. For our main weapon, let's go with the longsword to give ourselves the sap mastery property. This will give enemies disadvantage on attack rolls if we hit them with our weapon attack. And then to keep playing into that applying of disadvantage theme, let's pick up the protection fighting style to give disadvantage to enemies who target allies within 5 feet of us as a reaction. So, we are extremely durable with above average hit points. We have a heavy armor based armor class with a shield, damage reduction on our reaction, and self-healing on our bonus action. We can also disrupt enemy attacks with sap, and even more efficiently disrupt their attacks when they target our allies. So how would this fighting style influence a character's personality? With all of this durability, I imagine this character would be completely unconcerned with their own safety in most situations, knowing that they can just reduce damage that they take and also heal themselves if things get dicey. But through their attacks and reactions, they're also putting effort into defending their party, so they would probably be concerned with keeping their allies safe as well. So here we have a personality that is bold and protective at the same time. Let's see if we can build a bit of a backstory around these features as well. Why would such a durable and capable fighter be concerned with their allies' safety? Well, we know Goliaths have strong bonds with their tribes, but they're also very competitive and motivated by achieving personal glory in combat. So I could imagine this character being a survivor of a battle or even a war where they earned glory and accolades for themselves. However, during that time, they were so focused on their own performance and skill that they didn't realize until after the battle was over that one of their closest allies had been slain. Now this veteran struggles with the belief that if they had spent more time and effort watching their allies back, they might have been able to save their friend. And now they adjust their fighting style to protect those around them just as much as they protect themselves. And why would a character like this want to go on an adventure? Well, having failed their previous tribe and lost those closest to them, maybe they're now seeking out a new tribe, some new group of like-minded adventurers to seek glory beside and to defend to the best of their abilities. So not only can we pull personality and motivation out of these class features, we can also craft a backstory that supports the decisions we want to make in combat. Now, let's look at one final character build example, a human sorcerer. Personally, I was really excited about the changes to the Magic Initiate feat in the 2024 Player's Handbook, namely that it now lets you choose any spellcasting ability for your spells, and it lets you cast that first level spell using your own class spell slots in addition to the free cast you get once per day. So let's say that we want to make a sorcerer, but we don't just want to deal damage. We understand that in an adventuring campaign, we need some versatility, and when the chips are down, it pays to have another character in the party who can support their allies. To achieve this, we're going to go human for our species and pick up an extra origin feat, and that origin feat is going to be Magic Initiate Druid. For our first level spell, we're taking Cure Wounds, so we can heal our allies effectively. You could also go for Healing Word if you'd prefer to have that healing as a easy to access bonus action in combat. For our 2 cantrips, we can pick up Guidance to further play into that support theme. And then, it's also going to be a pretty good idea to pick up Shillelagh, which lets us make weapon attacks using our spell casting ability modifier for attack and damage instead of strength. Combine that with the Green Flame Blade, Booming Blade, or True Strike cantrips, and we'll actually have a pretty decent scaling melee damage option for when we can't keep our distance in combat. And then to further play into that support sub-theme for our background origin feat, we're going to pick up Healer. This lets us reroll 1s on any healing dice of spells that we cast. So here we have a fairly optimized level 1 sorcerer with feats that give us added versatility in our party by allowing us to fill a minor support role. And on top of that, we even get to improve our melee damage thanks to that Shillelagh cantrip. Now, these choices lend towards a character who is eager to help those around them. Maybe a chaotic good character who believes that they can be of help, even if most people they encounter don't automatically assume that a sorcerer is going to be able to support them in a situation. However, character-wise, why might a sorcerer care about supporting their allies? Well, we know that a sorcerer's magic manifests because of some magical lineage, or maybe even a magical event that happened in their lives. So how might a sudden manifestation of magic have affected our character's life, and therefore their personality? Let's imagine that this magic wasn't accepted by those in the sorcerer's community. Maybe the sudden appearance of the arcane seemed dangerous and scared those around them. Or maybe others felt threatened by the character's sudden power. They could come from a community that doesn't have any wizards or clerics and aren't used to spellcasting. Or it could be a very arcane wizard community who is threatened by somebody who doesn't need to study, who just gets these powers automatically. Who knows? But in any of those cases, our sorcerer might have been shunned by their community, ostracized even. But rather than fall in line with that fear-mongering of their fellows, this character stubbornly embraced their power, determined to prove that it could be useful. And this drive manifested in the form of the Guidance and Cure Wounds spells entering into their repertoire of magic. So here we have a character who is certain of their own value, but also wary of others turning against them because of who they are. This gives us someone who is eager to help and also determined to prove themselves useful. That's a pretty compelling combination for a sorcerer, especially in a long-term campaign where that power is going to continue to grow across many sessions. And lastly, why might this character adventure? Well, if they were ostracized from their community, they could be on a similar path as our fighter, albeit for different reasons, but they are seeking to prove themselves to a new group of friends and fellows, maybe to replace the closeness they once had with their original community before the magic changed everything. So, I hope that this video has shown you that min-maxing doesn't have to ruin roleplay, but rather it can actually add to your character's depth and lead you to some unique backstory ideas that you might not have thought of otherwise. Let me know about your favorite ways to merge your class features with your roleplay, and tell me about some of your favorite character backstories in the comments down below. Thanks for checking out the video. Come back every Monday for more Dungeons & Dragons content, and as always, I'll see y'all next week.